Okay, now you've unmuted it. Did you want to unmute it?
Good evening, everyone. Mary, thank you for co-hosting. As always, we will wait a half minute or so, let people drift in. Can you hear me okay?
All good.
Thank you. So I'd like to invite as many of you as are willing to have your cameras on and say hello to each other, hear each other's voices, say where you're calling in from. Maybe there's somebody next door that you didn't know existed. And glad to see all of you.
Hi, everybody. Deb from Oregon,
Hi,
like my
Deb.
title says. Hi.
Hi from San Francisco.
Hi from San Francisco.
Where was
Big
that?
love from Nashville.
Hey, Jerry. Hey, David. Saw the wave.
Howard from BC. Hello.
Hello, Howard. Fellow meningioma man.
Keith from Berkeley.
Hey, Keith.
And it's Leith from Edmonton.
Hi, Leith.
Stuart from San Francisco.
Hi, Stuart. Welcome.
San Antonio, John.
Hey, John. Glad you're here. Hey, Maureen. Saw the wave.
Hi from Maryland.
Hi, Laura.
Hi from Carmel.
Hey, Nina.
Hello from Petaluma.
Hello, Carol. Welcome. Okay. So I'm glad you're here. Glad to both help lift us and be lifted by us. Lifted out of the torments of the wanting mind, the aversive mind, the deluded mind, the contracted heart, whatever it is that we have been frequently dwelling upon other than the light of our own nature. If we're human, we've been circling in other domains. So it's a real opportunity to empty our mind of its usual preoccupations and nurture the light that lives in us, the light of awareness. Not getting woo-woo here. We're just calling that capacity to be aware and the capacity to sustain awareness often gets neglected in the busyness of our lives and the torments of our mind. So we will just turn on our attention and maybe even use the effect of our week on our bodies and our minds. Use anything that we notice as our reminder of our capacity to notice and our capacity to, when noticing, that whatever it is that we notice, whatever effects that we experience from our lives, is something we can experience, just experience, rather than think about, rather than analyze, rather than interpret, rather than resist, just open to. And we start by opening to the effects of our life on our bodies. I heard a quote from one of my old colleagues, John Travis, that it's necessary, or if you put your mind in your body, this is what makes possible connection with your heart. Without our mind in our body, we don't feel our heart so well. So we cover many bases by bringing our attention to our bodies, letting our attention be filled with the feeling of sitting, and sometimes feeling that is enhanced by letting our eyes close softly. Because as soon as we close our eyes, the idea of our body gives way to the felt sense. It's no longer an image, a picture. It's a field of sensations, energies, moods, aliveness, vibration, pulsing. We just let our attention fill that experience and let that experience fill our attention. And we let our attention mingle with this experience of our body so that there is no separation. In fact, even though we use language to say mind and body, there's no dividing line. And you could say there's no mind and no body. These are just words that point to this living experience that has within it also consciousness. It's just nature, conscious feeling. And we could call it bodyfulness. And as we feel this experience directly, there is inevitably a stilling and a settling. Not because we forced ourselves to settle down or relax. It's just the byproduct of attention and body being in harmony. What we may feel may not feel harmonious initially, may feel agitation, heaviness. Whatever it is that we feel, we feel. And with the stilling of the body, we're able to more easily feel the life breath. The same breath that moves inside of you moves inside of me. Noticing the way our body expands with this shared breath, this shared spirit of breath. It contracts as the breath leaves, and further supporting that byproduct of settling and stilling. If we follow the waves of the breath, we start to notice a calming. So we keep the breath as the center of the meditation, as our primary anchor, place to harmonize mind and body, and a place to return to when we realize that we've been lost in a thought bubble, in a thought world. But in addition to noticing, feeling the body's experience of breathing, and maybe even enjoying that experience of our body breathing, in addition to that, we also graciously welcome sounds, other sensations, thoughts and images, moods and emotions that often follow the thoughts. And then the thoughts often follow the moods and emotions. But we welcome them all as nature, as the internal weather. Not wishing to get rid of anything, figure anything out, just to meet life as it is. Moment by moment, freeing ourselves from the causes of stress, which is our reactive mind. Our mindful attention erases our reactive mind, replaces it. But often our doorway to this non-judgmental, non-contentious awareness is by noticing the contentious mind, noticing the mind that wants, the mind that resists, the mind that personalizes, by just noticing it all. But not doing anything about it or undoing it. Just noticing how everything changes, self-liberates. And you rest in the state of being aware, supported by the body and breath. Just this moment. Just these sensations, just this breath. Just know that your practice is supporting others to return to sanity, to simplicity, to non-contentiousness. Even if your mind is all over the place, just the fact that you're here is great support. Just this moment. If you're using the breath as a support to harmonizing your mind and body, and sink into it, stick to it, spread out all around it. Don't miss any part of the in-breath or the out-breath. And notice at the end of the out-breath and before the next in-breath, there's often a little space. And it's often in that little gap that we space out. So sustaining awareness through the whole duration of the breath. It doesn't mean directing or controlling. It means receiving it, but feeling it intimately. Short breaths, long breaths, rough breaths, smooth, deep, or shallow. Whatever is the body's experience of its own breathing. And sustain that as long as it lasts until something else calls your attention. Relying on the capacity to be aware. Trust is awareness. Thanks for your practice. Really nice to sit with you. Very interesting tonight. Noticing the reverberations of my life, and just going from a day filled with usual activities into this virtual temple, and being really happy that I had a little sustained period with you. And before I forget, at least tonight, I wanted it to continue. I had a craving for more. Sometimes I want it to end. In either case, we pay attention to the state of waiting, wanting, whatever it is. But tonight, in the context of wanting more, I wanted to remind you that this Saturday, I'll be doing an online half day, 9 to 1 West Coast time. And we'll sit and we'll walk and sit and walk and talk and sustain practice together. And at least my own experiences over the course of doing many, many of these over the last 5 years, when we practice together in a sustained way, it's very much like being together in person. And it also allows each of us to transform our own lives right where we're living it into a kind of living Dharma, and at least break some of the cycles of distress that we tend to get a little bit more addicted to in our daily lives. So come one, come all. All the information is, I'm sure Mary will put the information in the chat later, if not already there. And it's also in the newsletter that allowed you to click on tonight. So anyway, love to see as many as possible this Saturday. Curious, any reverberations from sitting tonight or from anything else going on? Any questions, topics, comments, descriptions? Just a reminder that whatever your comment is, question will be of some use to someone else. So please feel free. And you can unmute or use the raised hand function, or raise your hand so I can see you. Su Jung, please feel free to unmute. Thanks for breaking the ice.
Hi, Howie. It's been a while to speak to you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. I'm just glad that I was able to meditate with you here instead of going pet grief support group. It was just so much emotion ongoing today. So I decided just take a break and just sit with myself. And I really wanted to know, Howie, I want to be really want to be in peace with whatever my decision that I made for my pet, and I wanted to know how to be peace with my decision that I made instead of going back and forth about all the possibilities that I could take.
Anyway, thank you for the question. I feel for the pain of decision making and the challenges of that. I wish you were here last week, because someone else, and may be helpful to you to know that other people we're presenting similar challenges, so you're not alone with that. But I'll repeat a little bit about what I said last time. Well, there are a few things that are coming to mind right now. One is you can't make a wrong decision. You can just, any decision, you learn from it. It becomes your guru. It becomes your teacher. The results, it teaches you to continue on whatever path you're on, or to change paths. And so then life becomes your teacher, rather than have to try to figure it out in advance and assure the so-called right decision. Every decision becomes the right decision because it becomes your teacher. It guides you, it tells you. And so then what that asks of you is to trust your own wisdom, that you will learn from whatever it is that shows up in your life. So that's one thing. The second is deciding with just thinking about things is very difficult. And we're not very good at it. We're not very good at thinking through things and then making decisions, because one, we can't really fully anticipate a future that is imaginary. We can only speculate. Two, the more we spin in our decision making, going back and forth between many different options, the less present we are in our lives. The less present we are in our lives, the less we feel our bodies. And when we don't feel our bodies, we lose a very important source of wisdom. Kind of, if you feel your body, you kind of know whether something feels right or not. Again, getting back to trusting your own wisdom. But in order to touch into your own wisdom, you have to be embodied. And what decision making often does is it relies too heavily on your rational thinking and not enough on the intuition that is more available when you feel things through your body. So does this make any sense?
Yeah, definitely. But what if the decision was already made in?
Oh, okay.
And then probably I was not clear to you, but what if it was already
Already
I
made.
already made a decision.
So you're second guessing.
Yeah, and it was really hard decision. I wanted to go to different route, but
Mm.
my heart goes, I really want to save her, and I want to do whatever it takes. But then my rational thinking, probably this was the reason, because instead of going over extreme, and I decided, yes, just why don't I just celebrate her life of 18 years and letting go of her instead of holding her life to me.
Yeah, I wish I knew more of what you're speaking of, but in any case, whatever is the pain that you are experiencing, more important now than second guessing decisions is to attend with so much kindness to the decision you made and to the way that you feel now, knowing that you made the best possible decision given what the information you had at that moment, and could not have done it any other way, given all the forces that were at play in those moments. Without knowing what happened, my suggestion is that to somehow come to some acceptance and mostly compassion, self-compassion. really regard yourself with tenderness. Anyway, it sounds like it's a longer conversation. Unfortunately, we can't do that now, but I really appreciate that you put your pain out, that you let me feel with you your pain, and I'm sure other people also felt with you, and they're sending you loving kindness right now.
Thank you.
Anyway, take care. Mary, please feel free.
Hi. I wanted to thank that lady for sharing too. It was very powerful. I think we've all been in that situation at some time, so it's very nice of her to share. Well, I just wanted to say, and I don't mean to sound corny, but I went to a wonderful march here in Santa Barbara. And I gotta tell you, I feel very proud today of this country. I really do. I feel people really, whether the news carried it or not, people really stepped up. You know, I was looking on social media at all the really, we had a lot of people here, biggest march you've ever had in this town. And, you know, there was like 100,000 in the bigger cities, New York and Washington. And I saw this one picture. I went to college in Philadelphia, and I saw this picture of the one in Philly, which was really humongous. And I'm saying, well, why did they march at night? Because it was so dark.
Oh, it wasn't. Yeah, it was a different gathering.
No, I think it was raining.
Oh.
I think they marched in the rain.
Uh-huh.
Unless perhaps it was, and I missed that. But
I thought someone told me that the picture that displayed Philadelphia was of a previous of the some kind of other gathering, but maybe I'm wrong.
The Mummers Parade. No,
Could have been the
but anyway, it was a
Bowl.
good day. We needed a good day, and it was a very good day in this country. I'm very proud. So I just wanted to share that some good news.
Yeah. You remind us that even in difficult times, joy is possible, and it's and doing things together for a cause that you care about brings joy and connection and all those things. So glad you experienced that. I did as well.
I'm glad you did too.
Anyone else? Carol, please feel free.
Hi there. I did as well. A hands-off rally in Santa Rosa, California, and it felt really good. I carried a sign that said, "I'd much rather be playing with my dogs than fighting fascism." There was, a sign that was left, and I liked it, so I picked it up and carried it around. But it was really nice. I just want to say today is my first time joining you, and how nice it is to be here and see all of you, and just so much nicer to meditate and be in this space when joined with others. So Howard, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
May it continue. Oh, love to check in with each person, but unless there's anyone else, we'll move along. Well, I received an email from someone, I think it was in the middle of last week. They were asking me about that concept in Buddhism called something like craving for non-being or craving for non-becoming. They said, what's the word in Pali? And so I wrote back to that person that the word, and well, just to let you know that in the teachings, the cause of stress, and hopefully in talking about this tonight, a main cause of stress, a main cause of dukkha, a main cause of things that are of suffering is a main cause is craving. But there are three kinds of craving that the Buddha spoke about. One was called craving for sense pleasures. It's called kama tanha. Tanha is the word for craving. And then there's craving for becoming, for existence, for going on. It expands to craving for becoming more continuing, basically. And that's called bhava tanha. And then there is the flip side of bhava tanha. It's called vibhava tanha. That's the craving for non-becoming, the craving for non-existence, sometimes translated as a kind of suicidal impulse. But in the more general way, just wanting it all to stop. So those are the three types of craving. And the person said to me, well, these are bad. Are these bad? Something to the effect of, are these bad? These are the no-nos, which kind of implied that these are the things you got to get rid of. But that's not exactly what the Buddha said. The first thing he said about it is that he did say something to the effect that these need to be abandoned, that we don't want to be caught up in the state of craving. But if you back up a little bit to the first noble truth, the first truth that there is suffering, there is stress, there is a chronic state of dissatisfaction, there is that which is really hard to bear. He didn't say you need to get rid of it. He said in the first truth, and this goes throughout all the different truths that are liberating, said this must be understood. And what he means is it's not just a kind of intellectual understanding, but it's, in fact, understood means standing under, it means accepting, it means mingling with it, it's actually opening to it. Opening to the pain that you experience. And not seeing it as a personal thing, but as dukkha. Dukkha is stress, suffering. No, not making it into a personal thing. I'm suffering, me, mine, but making it into, not making it into, but recognizing it as the universal condition. Everyone, all beings have dukkha. And this must be understood, accepted, open to. And then one has to be able to say, this has been understood. The second, the cause is craving. And in general, this craving, and this is, I think, really relevant right now, is the desire for things to be different than the way they are. And it could be more equity, more peace, more wealth, more freedom. It can be even things that seem rather wholesome or right. But to the degree that our mind gets caught in that state of craving, it colors our perception and suggests to us moment to moment that a sense of relief is not possible now unless that craving is fulfilled, unless it's satisfied. So craving is not meant to be seen as a no-no to be gotten rid of or to be personalized. It's meant to be understood as a cause for stress, to be understood as a cause for postponing a sense of relief, a cause of anchoring our happiness and well-being to a future result or satisfaction that ultimately never arrives because it's imaginary. It's because time, as we know, is only now. And that craving for things to turn out the way we want in this world, in the stock market, in the whatever it is, this craving leads to attachment to outcomes. And this is something subtle that we can only resolve ourselves. It's not some kind of intellectual truth we adopt. Oh, that's bad, get rid of it. It has to be recognized as a subtle form of stress that sometimes operates invisibly. Because when there is attachment to an outcome, to how I want things to be, when I don't get what I want, I feel frustrated. I feel angry. I feel tense. I feel dissatisfied. And I don't know if that speaks to you, but that's been a big theme in the world right now. It doesn't mean that I don't care deeply about and will try everything possible to make a healthier, wealthier, harmonious world. But I know I'm a broken record on this, but if I tether my well-being, if I hold my well-being and balance hostage to a future that may not arrive in the way that I want it to, I'm actually increasing the sense of dukkha. That craving is hardened into attachment. And what we find that the satisfaction of things, good news showing up. Some of the days in this cycle, you see the good news. The courts have, for people who want the administration to be stopped in their tracks, there's a celebration when the courts stop whatever's done. But as we know, satisfaction, and this is Dharma 101, but needs to be remembered again and again. Satisfaction is short-lived. And it arises, it fades away. and leaves in its wake disappointment again when the opposite, when we feel pleasure when there's gain, we feel misery when there's loss. And so consequently, we easily condition ourselves to feed a cycle, what's called samsara, a cycle of endless wanting, endless waiting, endless hoping, endless gaining and losing, and that unfortunately does not give the desired result, which is relief, happiness. To be whole, to be balanced. It dysregulates us, it throws us off balance. So ideally, we learn from craving, we feel craving, we notice its subtle tendency to create attachment where we feel disappointed, disgusted, angry when the desire that I have is not fulfilled, when things don't turn out the way I want them to. As I can hear for myself, I'm trying to stay away from the details of I'm trying to invite each person to just transpose whatever it is that you are hoping, expecting, depending on, attached to in your life, to use it as a Dharma door. Because the beautiful thing about the Dharma is that moment of noticing craving, noticing disappointment, feeling it, noticing disappointment. The very painful result of whatever it is whatever cycle of samsara, of whatever cycle of misery has gotten practiced, in that moment, there is cessation. There's an experience of disappointment, sadness, craving, and we see that once our attention mingles with that experience, whatever it is, once I bring the freshness and the light of attention to whatever I'm experiencing, stepping out of the story of whatever I'm experiencing, or at least expanding beyond it and feel, oh, this is what craving feels like. This is what craving for pleasure feels like. This is what craving for becoming feels like. This is what craving for non-becoming feels like. It feels like this. Right now. And with that, there is often, don't believe me, but there's often a relief. And there's often the feeling when just using whatever it is that's present and using it as a doorway to direct experience, there's also that opportunity in that moment to sense that my life is not that whole story, that it's not that whole drama about the world or my situation. It's that experience that I'm having right now. And that's it. That my life is much more simple in real time than my fantastic and painful version that plays in my mind and gets fed by this force of craving. So the secondhand version of craving is much, much worse than the feeling of craving itself. Feeling of craving itself is just contraction, holding, waiting, postponing, whatever that feels like. And once that meets the light, it's just craving. So then it doesn't need to be made into the bad thing. It's only a bad thing when it's followed, when it's unexamined, when it's not felt, when it leads to a cycle of a chronic dissatisfaction. But moment to moment, craving is craving. Dukkha is dukkha. I think I've recently told the story of experiencing a kind of profound sense of what's called sankhara dukkha. That's the dukkha of existence, just the existential too muchness of life that sometimes we feel, and it's a kind of insight knowledge into life's tough. It's inherently unsatisfactory in a certain way. Sometimes we really get a strong hit of it, kind of existential angst, existential dissatisfaction, or just a sense of overwhelm from the enormity of things that we have to deal with every day. And I was experiencing this during one of my retreats, and I went to the teacher, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I had built up a whole story about it. I'm having insight into suffering, and it's really terrible. And he could hear it. It was like my voice was dripping with the identification with that pain. And the teacher looked at me kind of dismissively, and he just said, just see dukkha as dukkha. Just see pain as pain. And it was shocking to me because, in that moment I realized, oh my gosh, I had built up, I was not just with dukkha, I was in the drama of it. I'd created a story about it. So I can't tell I haven't heard from all of you, but if you're human, you likely easily move beyond just the simple reality of dukkha, not simple, but just the reality of dukkha. And you embellish it with a story, with hopes and dreams and visions. And you're craving for pleasure, you're craving for becoming, it hardens into attachment, and you get frustrated when things don't turn out, and it turns into the story of your life in some form. And you may mistake yourself, your real nature. You may mistake that story of drama for the real you, which is here, awake, outside of time, beyond this body, beyond any story. But you're here. The ultimate fact that you're aware. And that whatever is experienced, whatever changing condition experience is workable. You can work with it if you just keep it simple. Feel it. So if your craving has hardened into attachment, and it has turned into disappointment, and it has turned into rage, one part of it is to feel, is to come back to simplicity. The other part is to begin to infuse in our consciousness, infuse in our mind stream, an antidote for the the frustration and anger and disappointment. And that antidote that I speak about all the time is very central to the teaching is love. And I'll just share with you one of my favorite passages from Prajnaparamita about how important it is not to keep feeding the cycle of aggression and ill will, which is so easy to land in right now. Just a reminder to put out into this world goodwill, both as an antidote for ourselves and for the world that we live in. From Prajnaparamita, so sensitive and ecology is the interdependence of all that the slightest attention and assistance to others creates moral elevation for ourselves and humanity, while the slightest indifference or neglect toward others creates moral harm for ourselves and our civilization. The faintest spark of ill will toward other beings can burst forth into a terrible forest fire, consuming vast expanses of sympathetic joy. Even the faintest negative reaction or malicious wish, boy, this is good. Malicious wish opens wide channels through our entire being for life-destroying poisons of negation and life-obscuring shadows of self-cherishing. So needless to say, the important thing is to put out into this world, put into our own minds the inclination toward goodwill, because it has an impact. When we start with ourselves, may we be happy and peaceful. Try this on for a moment. May we be happy and peaceful. But may we also know that things are just as they are. So we wish for the best and we accept things as they are. We work for the best, but we know that things are as they are. May we take care of each other, and may we know that things are just as they are. May we find joy in our lives, and may we know that things are just as they are. May we be happy and peaceful. May we know the causes of happiness and peace. And may we know that things are just as they are. And may our practice tonight and our reminders that we experience by returning to simplicity, returning to sanity, may the fruits, the blessings, the benefits, the merits of our practice be shared with all beings everywhere. May all beings feel safe and protected from inner and outer harm. May all beings live with ease. May all beings be liberated. So, thanks for listening. May craving be relieved. So, Mary, any quick announcements before we sign off? Thanks for staying the evening.
So just another reminder about this Saturday's half day. We had one in January, so we didn't have one in February or March, and then we won't have another one until the end of June. So this is really a wonderful opportunity to sit in the middle, in the midst of everything. And everybody is welcome because we are online. So the link is in the chat. And then, of course, just another reminder about Donna. All of this is here because of your kindness and your generosity, and Howie's kindness and generosity. And so, but things don't often run on kindness and generosity alone. We do need, we live in a society that operates on money. So any financial offerings you can offer will always be appreciated. And the information on that is also in the chat. So thank you very much.
Okay. Please feel free to unmute and say good night, and thanks in advance for your support. And I'm sure I'll see all of you on Saturday.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Howie. Good night.
Bye.